The Visit of the Wise Mina soothing bedtime story. In a time long ago, when the world was quieter and the night skies shone with ancient brilliance, there lived wise men in the distant east. These were scholars who spent their nights studying the heavens, tracing the paths of stars across the velvet darkness, searching always for meaning in the celestial dance above. Night after night, they would climb to their observation towers, unrolling scrolls of ancient prophecies, comparing what was written with what they observed. They knew the sky as intimately as you might know the rooms of your own home. Every constellation, every planet's wandering path, every subtle shift in the darkness. Then one evening, as the sun melted into the horizon and the first stars began their nightly appearance, something extraordinary caught their attention. A new star blazed in the sky, not with harsh brightness that startles, but with a steady, compelling radiance that drew the eye and stirred something deep within the soul. This was no ordinary star. Its light seemed to carry a message, a gentle insistence that something momentous had occurred in the world. The wise men gathered together and consulted their ancient texts. There, in prophecies preserved through countless generations, they found words that made their hearts quicken. A star would announce the birth of a king, a ruler unlike any the world had known, one who would bring light to all peoples. Standing beneath that remarkable star, feeling its soft light upon their faces, they knew what they must do. A journey lay before them, long and uncertain, but the star's gentle guidance was clear. They would follow where it led. In the peaceful rhythm of preparation, they gathered gifts befitting a king. They selected frankincense, that precious resin whose fragrant smoke rises like prayers ascending to heaven. They chose myrrh, rare and costly, with its bittersweet aroma. And they brought gold, that most royal of metals, gleaming softly in the lamplight as they carefully packed it for the journey ahead. With their camels laden and their hearts full of anticipation, the wise men set out into the vast expanse of desert and distant lands. By day, they traveled steadily across sun-baked plains and through rocky passes. By night, they rested beneath that faithful star, which moved slowly, gracefully across the sky, always leading them westward. The journey was long, days flowing into weeks, weeks into months. They passed through strange cities and foreign lands, crossed rivers and mountains, always following the star's patient beckoning. There was a rhythm to their travel, a meditation in the steady pace of the camel's footsteps, the gentle sway of the journey, the daily discipline of following where the light led. As they drew nearer to Jerusalem, that ancient city of kings, they naturally assumed their journey's end would be in the palace. Surely a king would be born in a palace, surrounded by courtiers and ceremony. And so they made their way to King Herod's court, entering those grand halls with their question, "Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? We have seen his star and have come to worship him." But in that palace, they found not joy but disturbance. King Herod, troubled by talk of another king, gathered his scribes and priests. These learned men searched the prophecies and confirmed what was written. The Messiah would be born in Bethlehem, the city of David, a small town just a few miles to the south. With this knowledge, the wise men departed Jerusalem. And as they traveled southward, the star, their faithful guide, moved before them once again, and then did something wondrous. It came to rest, hovering over a particular place in the small town of Bethlehem. When they saw the star standing still, their joy overflowed. All the long months of travel, all the uncertainty and questions, all the patience required by their journey, it all led to this moment, this place. But the place where the star stopped was not a palace. It was humble, simple, a dwelling where ordinary people might live. And yet, as the wise men approached, they felt the unmistakable presence of something sacred, something that made all their learning and all their searching suddenly worthwhile. They entered quietly, reverently, and there they found what they had journeyed so far to see, a young child with Mary, his mother. The baby they had traveled so long to find was not dressed in royal robes, not surrounded by servants and splendor. And yet, in that moment, the wise men knew they stood before the king they had been seeking. Without hesitation, these learned men, these scholars who had traveled from distant lands, bowed down in worship. They who were themselves considered wise and honored in their own countries, knelt before this child, recognizing in him something greater than all their wisdom, all their knowledge, all their earthly understanding. Then, with hearts full of reverence and joy, they opened their treasures. The gold they laid before him, acknowledging his kingship. The frankincense they offered, its sweet smoke rising like recognition of divinity dwelling among humanity. And the myrrh, precious myrrh, gift of both love and sorrow, as if somehow knowing that this child's path would hold both glory and sacrifice. That night, as the wise men rested after their long journey's completion, they dreamed. In the soft landscape of sleep, they received a warning: they should not return to Herod, should not report what they had found. And so, when morning came, they departed for their own country by another route, carrying with them the memory of what they had witnessed. The wise men returned home changed, bearing in their hearts the image of the child they had worshipped. They had begun their journey as seekers of celestial signs, but they returned as witnesses to a mystery far more beautiful than any star: the mystery of heaven touching earth, of the greatest gift given in the smallest, most unexpected place. And so the visit of the wise men became part of the greater story, a reminder that the journey matters, that seeking brings its own rewards, that sometimes the most profound truths are found not in palaces but in humble places, and that the light we follow, if we follow it faithfully, will lead us exactly where we need to be. Rest now, and let this ancient story settle gently in your heart. Sleep well.